This is Newswatch Quinte.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Newswatch Quinte Review. Over the next half hour, we'll be looking back at this week's headline stories in the Quinte region. Filling in for Paul Soucy, I'm Jennifer Lester Mulridge. The worst may be yet to come for waterlogged residents living in a state of emergency along the Moira River. Foxborough is one of the worst hit communities where dozens of volunteers are building barriers against the water. Newswatch's Morgan Campbell reports.
It gives new meaning to Help Thy Neighbor as dozens of people flood the parking lot at the community center in Foxborough, offering a helping hand, filling sandbags, delivering, and placing them in front of homes for those who cannot.
Society's a big team. Everybody's got to be a part of that team. So there comes a time when each of us has to chip in.
Dan Pazika and his family are on hand doing what they can.
Foxborough is a good community, and I think when a call goes out for help, there's always a willingness to be there and for people to come out and help.
A state of emergency remains in effect as water levels continue to rise along the Moira River. The mayor of Belleville says it was necessary so the city could access emergency resources.
This is to cover our volunteers and the risk of losing big assets.
15 homes in the small town just north of Belleville are at risk of flooding. Volunteers and firefighters are doing what they can to protect homes.
This is a common sight here in Foxborough. I'm actually standing in someone's front lawn right now. The bad news is, well, these water levels aren't expected to recede anytime soon. In fact, it's possible these water levels could continue to rise for the next 4 days.
Meaning the worst is yet to come. The Moira River is expected to rise by 6 to 8 inches over the next 2 days. And with the threat of rain in the forecast, officials are on the edge of their seats.
So it depends on where that rain tracks. That could cause a whole lot more flooding situations down here in our watershed.
As well, all open-air burning has been banned for the time being.
We want to focus our efforts for our firefighters as to the flood, so we don't want to pull them away from that.
While some people are in panic mode, others are staying positive. This man is putting scuba gear on a submerged rock in his front lawn in an effort to put a smile on the tired faces of residents. Morgan Campbell, CKWS Newswatch, Foxborough.
Investigators still haven't determined what caused a $400,000 house fire in Napanee. Newswatch is making culture has more from officials and the homeowners.
The view from outside this bungalow on Town Line Road in Napanee may not seem all that bad, but inside it's a different story. Charred pieces of wood from the ceiling and insulation cover the floors, and soot is everywhere.
It's so ridiculous. It's terrible. It's just so black. I've never seen a house, being seen inside a house before where there's been a fire like that. It's very bad.
Carolyn Dobney is a friend of the homeowners who were away when the fire broke out. They returned early this morning and were too upset to go on camera, only to say they still can't believe what happened. Fire officials say the Wednesday afternoon blaze started in the attic, but due to the type of construction and the different layers of roofing materials, flames advanced to the point where crews had to be pulled out of the house for their safety. In the end, not much could be saved.
We're estimating the cost at around $400,000. There's some personal items that will be able to be saved.
The fire swept through the home so quickly that it destroyed everything. In fact, there was so much damage that officials may never find out the cause.
But the trusses all collapsed. Just the amount of debris, we have to go sifting through everything to see if we can locate the cause.
The homeowners had people checking up on the house regularly, even 1 hour before the fire erupted.
Jeff has someone that comes out every day and just gets a fire going to take the chill off the house. And he had been here in the afternoon and everything was fine. So I don't know. I don't know what it was.
While the material items can be replaced, she says they are just thankful no one was hurt. Megan Coulter, CKWS Newswatch, Napanee.
Kingston police are asking to hear from anyone who may know who set fire to a city townhouse. The fire started early Thursday morning in this townhouse complex on Compton Street. Kingston Fire and Rescue say the blaze was relatively small and damage was minimal, but they say it was also suspicious in nature and police are investigating.
Upon their initial response, fire department summoned police as they felt it was suspicious, and police have held the scene and initiated an investigation as we feel that the fire was deliberately set and that we're investigating this as an act of mischief and arson.
Anyone with information is asked to contact Kingston Police. Belleville's police service unveiled a $15.7 million budget this week. The police chief says the budget represents a 2.4% spending increase over last year. It includes $250,000 in pre-approved items and $322,000 for purchases like upgrades to computer software. The police service is also setting aside $1 million for a long sought-after new police station. The chief says the budget increase is lower than last year's for a couple of reasons.
The significant cost-saving measure was the reduction. We had 6 officers who retired, and we did not replace some senior ranks, as well as having recruits come in. Obviously, they come in without any kind of seniority pay, and that was just under $400,000. So that gave us a little bit of wiggle room.
Kingston's military base honored one of its own this week, a hero from the First World War. Major Joseph Flanagan fought for Canada in Europe, and although he passed on, his legacy will continue. Newswatch's Chris Wiggins has the story.
Lastly, I want to thank my grandfather, Joe Flanagan.
An emotional day for Derek Puddicombe. He knows as well as anyone the sacrifice Canadians suffered during the First World War. His grandfather, Major Joseph Flanagan, by many accounts, a hero of the Great War. Almost 100 years later, he's being honored again.
They're trained on these grounds.
Flanagan, a native of Maitland, Ontario, trained at CFB Kingston, then known as Camp Berryfield, which will now have a place in it that will forever bear his name.
The building that's named after him is here, and everyone that walks through that door to train, hopefully will remember and think about my grandfather's sacrifice to his country.
Unlike the wireless radio technologies of later wars, in World War I, communications meant wires that could save lives. Major Flanagan was responsible for laying and maintaining those lines on the battlefields of France, Belgium, and most notably at Vimy Ridge, a legacy that had Canada's military brass singing his praises.
He was awarded 2 military medals at Vimy and Passchendaele, was awarded a Distinguished Conduct Medal in the operations leading to Cambrai. He's a hero, and of course he was also a lineman.
Derek, who was alongside his mother and wife today, said after an emotional roller coaster he could not be more proud to see his grandfather's name be carried on at the School of Communications and Electronics here at CFB Kingston. Chris Wiggins, CKWS Newswatch, Kingston.
Anyone driving along the 401 through Kingston can expect delays for at least a couple more years. Construction crews are hard at work designing and developing the new Montreal Street exit. The expansion will stretch from Montreal Street to the Cataraqui River Bridge west of Highway 15. The 401 at Montreal Street is being widened to 6 lanes. Crews are also working to redesign the on and off ramps, build a new bridge, and a noise reduction wall along the eastbound ramp.
Once we get the new bridge built and the new Montreal Street, then this will all come out. The old bridge will come out and this whole road will be shifted to the east a little bit.
The final goal is to have the 401 expanded to 6 lanes all the way from Toronto to Montreal. There are concerns that patients across Ontario are being pushed out of hospitals before they're well enough to leave. Members of the Ontario Association of Speech Language Pathologists and Audiologists met at Kingston City Hall.
Information as to the release of our document, pushed out of hospital, abandoned at home.
Patients and families who have experienced these cuts contacted a 1-800 hotline to voice their concerns. Pushed out of hospital, abandoned at home suggests ways to make health services better for geriatric patients.
We had some members of the community come out, which was wonderful to support us. They too have talked about their own experiences of what they have seen with neighbors, with family members who have experienced cuts and how it's hurt them.
A key finding of the report was that health reforms are failing Ontario's patients, especially the elderly. A men's awareness group went on the offensive this week, targeting a Queen's University professor. Philosophy professor Adele Mercier, seen here in a 2012 interview with CKWS, is at the center of this debate. During an online public chat, she is alleged to have made comments denying the existence of male rape as initiated by women. As a result, posters were put up in areas of the Queen's campus this week, calling the professor a rape apologist. Those posters have since been taken down. The professor did not respond to our requests for an interview. We asked students around campus what they thought of her controversial comments.
I don't think that that's an appropriate comment to have made, but I mean, she said it, so obviously she has her opinion on it, but I think that's wrong.
Considering that it's not necessarily something that she's had a lot of academic experience with, maybe it's more of a personal opinion, and in that case, she should really keep it to herself.
Members of two groups, A Voice for Men and Canadian Association for Equality, have admitted to distributing the posters. Coming up on Newswatch Regional Review, it may seem hard to believe after the winter we've had, but patio season is finally upon us. We have local reaction to the death this week of Jim Flaherty. The former federal finance minister had a political career spanning 2 decades and 2 levels of government. Newswatch's Darren Davis offers this retrospective from Kingston area politicians.
We're not saving adequately, and that's what we need to target.
For many Canadians, he was the face of Canada's economy in his role as Minister of Finance for nearly a decade. Regarded as a man who could fiercely debate and defend his views, he was also known as someone who could cross political boundaries and work with the opposition. Veteran Liberal MPP John Gerritsen was elected to Queen's Park in 1995. The same year, the Conservative Flaherty first began his public service under then Premier Mike Harris.
He never got involved in personal attacks. It was always based on the philosophy or the political ideology from which he worked. And I've always appreciated that.
Arthur Milnes, who has spearheaded the popular Sir John A. Macdonald walking tours, managed to get the Minister of Finance to guide the Kingston tour 3 years ago. Flaherty once said tours like this are an important way for Canadians of all ages to learn about history. Milnes says while Flaherty was in town for the walking tour, he actually made time for a local boy and helped him out with his school project.
I think Mr. Flaherty, who had 3 kids of his own, triplets, I think he had more fun talking to the young man about politics and public life and government than he did talking to all of us adults.
Former Speaker of the House Peter Milliken remembers Flaherty as a good-humored man.
I think enjoyed debate and the exchanges that went on in the chamber. I think he usually found it quite entertaining and of course made it so. So I think his presence will be greatly missed in the House.
Ottawa is planning a state funeral for Jim Flaherty on Wednesday, an honor reserved for eminent Canadians. Darren Davis, CKWS Newswatch, Kingston.
The arrival of milder weather has led to a familiar sight, open patios. They're starting to sprout up in Kingston's downtown core. Newswatch's Megan Culture pulls up a chair.
There might be a slight chill in the air, but signs of spring are upon us, beginning with sunshine and patios.
My favorite part about patio season, this is really the only acceptable time to have drinks at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday. And as long as you're in the sun, there's no problem with that, really, I think.
Temperatures only reached 3 degrees today, but that didn't stop many people from having their first meal in the sun.
We're, hibernating all winter, and it's just nice to get out into the fresh air and enjoy the sun.
It's brisk, but we're optimistic, so we're trying to protest this winter and get into spring.
For many restaurants, patio season is their busiest time of year, drawing in both local residents and tourists.
You can't find a place that's not packed during the summer. Like, it's incredibly tough anyways.
This time last year, patios like the one here at Harper's Burger Bar were packed full of people, mainly because of the warmer weather. This year's slow start to spring has resulted in patio season beginning much later than usual, and it's left many people wishing for warmer weather to arrive.
I'm really hoping it does get going because it's probably one of my favorite times of the year for sure.
My favorite part hasn't come yet, but it's t-shirt and shorts, having a cold beer and a good meal.
Mother Nature is expected to bring us some warmer weather over the next few days, which means outdoor patios will soon become a hotspot downtown. Megan Coulter, CKWS Newswatch, Kingston.
People around Market Square are doing a double take these days. The metamorphosis into a movie set continues. It's supposed to resemble a market scene from a century ago as part of a feature film that's being shot here this week. Crews were hard at work setting up for the shoot, directed by Guillermo del Toro. The film is called Crimson Peak, a gothic horror movie set in England at the turn of the century. In addition to makeshift stalls, several tons of sand will be brought in.
I think it's good for the city. I think it's nice to see extra people come in and put the city on the map a little bit more.
So I'm happy to see it, you know, on a nice day, see a bunch of wagons and, you know, all these old wooden boxes. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they end up doing.
The older architecture that we have here to offer, and the city, walking downtown with my grandson, you can feel downtown coming alive. This is awesome.
A $500,000 house was awarded to one lucky ticket holder in the Kinsman Dream Home Lottery. And the winner is a Kingston woman who plans to move into her dream home with her family as soon as possible.
Congratulations to Amelia Miguel.
Amelia Miguel has lived with her family in this Kingston home for 2 decades. But starting as soon as the end of this month, she'll be moving to her dream home.
I was so excited, speechless, and I could not believe it.
The 71-year-old won the Kinsman Dream Home by Mark's Homes when her name was drawn from a pool of 5,000 tickets.
I jumped, I embraced my husband.
The house Miguel has won is a 3-bedroom bungalow in the new development called Westbrook Meadows, with a basement she says is good for parties. She says she's always wanted a bungalow and won't miss the stairs.
It's a hugely successful project and we're so excited for this year's winner.
The Miguels bought a ticket last year and didn't win. This year they decided to buy just before the draw.
It was only a week before the draw. My husband was trying to tell me, we better go and buy it before it gets sold out.
The lottery did sell out for the 2nd year in a row.
Both years, Mark's Homes have built us an incredible home, and we're so thankful to the work they do for us, and if not for them, I truly don't think I'd be as excited as I am.
Haynes says that given the sellout again this year, the Kinsmen probably raised $250,000 for their core group of charities.
Thank you, Lord, and thank you to Kingsman and to all the people that have bought the tickets.
The Miguels will get the keys to their new home as soon as possible. Jennifer Lester Mulridge, CKWS Newswatch, Kingston. Another major prize has been claimed by a winner, a trip to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. After receiving 12,000 entries, a winner of the trip was randomly selected. Philip and Nancy Hanmore watched Newswatch and decided to take a chance and enter. They say they were shocked when they received the call telling them they'd won and are excited to go to the Dominican for the first time.
Just didn't expect it. Well, I guess it's pretty good. It's the first time I've ever won anything this big, that's for sure.
The trip is a 7-day all-inclusive package. Up next on Newswatch Regional Review, the days of saying "fill her up" are going the way of the dodo in Kingston. There was a time when driving up to the gas station meant full service. They pumped the gas, cleaned the windshield, and checked your tire pressure while you sat behind the wheel. Now, one of Kingston's last full-service gas stations is closing. Newswatch's Paul Soucy reports.
But Texaco knows you need service.
It used to be the standard. You might never have to lift a gas nozzle yourself.
And the wipers, too.
And until Tuesday, you could still get a fill-up without smelling like gas afterward at Peterson Service Center on John Counter Boulevard.
Used to be on every street corner, about 4 of them when we started back in '72.
But times have changed and self-serve is now the norm. On Monday, Gunnar Peterson decided to hang up the pumps for the last time.
Towards the end of its 31-year run, Peterson says the hardest part of selling gas as an independent was keeping up with the lower prices of other gas stations.
not enough margin in the gas to warrant you having to tying all the money up. You know, plus the rules and regulations with the gas buyer now, so everybody's getting out of the gas business. It's all major companies now, big volume.
It was a decision he and his employees knew needed to be made, but they also know they'll miss the conversations.
There's lots of people that came in to talk to us and get our gas, and it was great because you build up a pretty good clientele and a relationship with your customers, but it's unfortunate that it had to come to the close.
I'd like to say thanks for all the years they've been with us, and sorry we had to shut her down.
And with it, he's closed up shop on a level of service we likely won't see again, as self-serve replaces a personal touch at the pumps. Paul Soucy, CKWS Newswatch, Kingston.
Kingston Mayor Mark Garrettson is raising concerns about possible contamination on the site of the mothballed Kingston Penitentiary. The mayor came across a report from Correctional Services about contamination on the KP site. It outlines concerns about hydrocarbons in the soil of the historic site. The government plans to clean up the site but has not released a timeline. Garrettson's chief concerns are with the federal government-owned Portsmouth Olympic Harbour and the people who use it. He's also surprised by the lack of public communication on the decommissioning of Kingston Pen and environmental process being undertaken. The lineup is set for the 18th annual Limestone City Blues Festival. This year's event runs from August 21st to 24th in the downtown core. The first feature performer will be Lincoln Durham, who's billed as one-man blues band. Saturday's main act at Market Square will be Tommy Castro and the Painkillers, with a sound that's described as contemporary blues rock.
Saturday night, the headliner is a fantastic guy we've been trying to get for a number of years, but it hasn't worked out with his scheduling or our scheduling. Tommy Castro and the Painkillers. If you're a blues fan, you'll probably know Tommy. He's a great guitarist and a super band behind him. So they'll be headlining the Saturday Market Square evening.
Free music will be belted out for the duration of Blues Fest at Confederation Park. Bracelets to get into all exclusive venues will still cost just $10. That's it for your Newswatch Regional Review. Sitting in for Paul Soucy, I'm Jennifer Lester Mulridge. Please join me again next week. Good night.